Pooh Shiesty didn't hire a lawyer to get out of his deal. Prosecutors say he tried to get out at gunpoint, a private studio session in Dallas. Late night, closed doors, no cameras, no crowd. Just a handful of people who thought they were there for business. Instead, it allegedly turned into something else. Armed men, pressure, forced signatures on paperwork that was supposed to end a contract. And days later, federal charges, kidnapping, extortion, conspiracy. This isn't just another rap industry fallout. This is the story of how a record deal allegedly spiraled into a federal case, and why some people are saying it never should have gone that far in the first place. Who are these people? Before the headlines, before the charges, before everything went left, Pooh Shiesty was one of the hottest rising names in rap. Coming out of Memphis, his energy was raw, aggressive, and real. He didn't sound polished, he sounded like where he came from. And that authenticity hit fast. His breakout moment came when his name started ringing through the streets and online at the same time. Then came the cosign that changed everything. Gucci Mane. Gucci wasn't just another rapper. He was a gatekeeper, a veteran who had already built and rebuilt his career multiple times. And more importantly, he had an eye for talent. When Gucci brought Pooh Shiesty into 1017 Records, it looked like the perfect setup. A young artist with momentum, backed by someone who understood both the streets and the industry. The label started moving fast. Releases dropped, features lined up, visibility increased. Pooh Shiesty went from a buzzing name to a mainstream conversation. But success in the spotlight doesn't always mean everything behind the scenes is solid. Because while the music was hitting, there were already signs that something wasn't sitting right. The record deals have always been complicated. On the surface, they look like opportunity. Money up front, exposure, access to platforms most artists could never reach alone. But behind that, the fine print can tell a different story. Long-term commitments, ownership of masters, revenue splits that heavily favor the label, control over releases, image, and sometimes even personal decisions. For young artists coming in fast, these deals are often signed before they fully understand what they're giving up. And according to what's been circulating, Pooh Shiesty allegedly started feeling that pressure. The kind of pressure that doesn't show up in interviews or social media posts. The kind that builds quietly behind closed doors. There were rumors that he felt locked into terms that didn't reflect his growing value. That the deal no longer made sense as his popularity increased. And in the music industry, that's a dangerous place to be. Because once an artist feels trapped, every move starts to feel controlled. Every release feels restricted. Every dollar feels like it's being split the wrong way. That frustration doesn't explode immediately. It builds. And when it reaches a certain point, people stop thinking in terms of business. They start thinking in terms of escape. The paperwork that started the pressure. In situations like this, everything usually comes down to paperwork. Not the music, not the relationships, not even the money at first. The contract. Because once a deal is signed, it becomes legally binding in ways most artists don't fully understand at the time. Clauses, percentages, ownership rights, delivery requirements, all of it locked in from day one. And even if an artist's value explodes overnight, that contract doesn't automatically adjust with it. That's where the pressure starts building. If Pooh Shiesty really felt like his deal no longer reflected his worth, then every new success could have made that situation feel worse. Every stream, every show, every feature, reminders that he was locked into terms that may not match his current position. And when there's no clear exit written into the deal, the only way out starts to feel impossible. When street mentality meets industry contracts, the music industry often blurs two completely different worlds. On one side, you have legal contracts, corporate structures, and long-term business strategies. On the other side, you have artists who come from environments where respect, pressure, and direct action solve problems faster than paperwork ever could. That clash creates tension, because what works in the streets doesn't translate the same way in the industry. Contracts don't respond to pressure, they respond to lawyers, negotiations, and time. But when frustration builds to a certain level, people don't always follow the system, they react. And that's where situations like this allegedly start to form, when someone tries to apply real-world pressure to a system that's built to resist it. At that point, it stops being a disagreement. It becomes a situation. The setup: January 10th. Dallas, Texas. A studio session was arranged. On paper, it looked normal. Meetings like this happen all the time in the music industry. Discussions, negotiations, maybe even attempts to fix whatever issues were happening behind the scenes. But prosecutors say this meeting wasn't about negotiation. They say it was a setup. According to the allegations, individuals connected to Pooh Shiesty arranged for certain people tied to the situation to be present. The environment was controlled, the location was private, and once everyone was inside, the tone changed. Prosecutors claimed that armed men were involved. That pressure was applied immediately. This wasn't a conversation. It was intimidation. The goal, according to the case, was simple: force the signing of documents that would release Pooh Shiesty from his contract. No lawyers, no formal renegotiation, no industry process, just signatures under pressure. The kind of pressure that turns a business disagreement into a criminal case. Because in that moment, it allegedly stopped being about music. It became about control. And once weapons are involved, everything changes. The fallout situations like this don't stay quiet for long. Once reports surfaced, it didn't take long for law enforcement to step in. And when federal authorities get involved, the stakes go to another level. Charges weren't minor: kidnapping, extortion, conspiracy. These are serious accusations that carry heavy consequences. This isn't industry drama anymore. This is federal time on the table. The narrative shifted instantly. What started as whispers about contract disputes turned into headlines about criminal activity. The focus moved away from music and straight into the legal system, and then came the reactions. Some people sided with Gucci Mane, saying he did what anyone would do in that situation: protect himself and go to the authorities. Others weren't so quick to defend him. There were voices online claiming that the situation should have never reached that point, that the frustration behind the scenes must have been deeper than what people saw publicly. And then came the word that always divides the internet: snitching. Some accused Gucci of involving law enforcement instead of handling it internally. Others argued that when guns are involved, there is no street solution anymore. The debate wasn't just about what happened. It was about how it should have been handled. The real issue. At the center of all this isn't just one night in Dallas. It's the bigger issue that's been part of the music industry for decades. Artists signing deals early, outgrowing those deals quickly, and then realizing they don't have an easy way out. When money, power, and reputation are all involved, situations escalate fast. Because for the artist, it can feel like their career is being controlled. For the label, it's business. Contracts are contracts, and when neither side is willing to give ground, things can turn personal. That's when emotions start replacing logic, and that's when decisions get made that don't just affect careers, they affect lives. Where do you draw the line? At the end of the day, this situation raises a question that doesn't have an easy answer. If an artist feels trapped in a deal they believe is unfair, how far is too far to get out of it? Because on one side, you have someone who may have felt like they had no options left. On the other side, you have a situation that allegedly crossed into something much bigger than business. So what do you think? Was this a case of industry pressure pushing someone to the edge? Or did it cross a line that should never be crossed, no matter what the situation is? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real stories like this, raw, unfiltered, and straight to the point, make sure you subscribe. Because some of the biggest stories in music aren't about the music at all.